Hello friends, this is Wurps, welcome back. I've got a bunch of cool tips and techs from or for your usage in the beta. Also, did you know the Huntsman had a nose? I'll start us off with a tricky one here. Did you know you can grab the human grenades that splinter off of the duct tape grenade and use them later? These are not saved as items, so you will need to use them in that stage. Here is how I killed a trudge using one duct tape grenade and one pocket cart. Now, as you can see here, I got some damage to start with, saved 2 of the grenades. I'm using the brief stun to beat the trudge with the cart, which I will also cover, pretty important, and finally kill it with the last grenade. That is over 500 damage from one duct tape grenade. You can also use a stun as an opportunity to just completely bash something with a cart. It helps if you do it kind of near where the handle is. I'm only doing it with this giant cart of uranium mugs to show that you can do it with items in it. It's significantly easier if the cart is lighter. Weirdly, you can also detonate a duct tape grenade as it is being purchased to split it into smaller grenades that you will then purchase. I think Swaggy's found this one, not 100% sure. With overcharge in the game, it can be harder to move enemies into death pits, so the stun and the trank can be accompanied by a cart or a mini cart, and you can bash enemies with it like this. And this will make it a lot easier in some cases. Shout out to Psycho for making a video about this a while ago. The duck bucket is absolutely insane. You can do everything with this thing. I'm using it as a scuffed pocket cart. You know, it's not the safest thing, but you can do it in a pinch. You can just look down and take it out while you're not moving to have it be in a way that's very easy to get in, like very quickly. And if you get in the bucket, you can just mash space and start freaking flying. You can grab the bucket and turn into a bucket race car. So you have bucket helicopter mode, bucket hide, bucket race car. You can put the bucket on a duck, but that's kind of boring. You can just look down while not moving very fast and press your button to take it out, and it'll already be in a very hermit crab friendly position for you to quickly slide into to just dodge whatever you want. So the new blender item in the museum, if you put an indestructible drone on it and just hold your grabber on it, it'll eventually explode the top off and turn into a real blender that you can blend enemies and friends with, or yourself, whatever you want to blend. Blend everything, make everything a smoothie. You can even grab this thing and put it over enemies, over their head, and blend them. It works because it like micro stuns them. You can kill a Reaper like this if you absolutely ambush them. You can not kill a Huntsman because it'll keep shooting. You can kill a freaking Trudge. Weird enough, you'll blend its dongle off of its head. You just kind of put it on it like a hat and just hold it down and it'll just blend. The robe is too big, too tall, won't work. Many things won't work, but a few things do work, namely the duck and your friends. Frog, upscream, whatever you can get in there, really. Okay, this one is goofy as all hell. Witness the upscream. You get in this exact position. Where is it? Oh, it's on your head. You now have an upscream hat. If you crouch kind of on like roughly the edge of a table-sized thing, not all the way on the edge, like there has to be a little bit around you, the upscream will just jump on your head and he'll just float there. And then you can stare at it angrily. You could potentially play dumb and tell your friends that it's not there, and they're crazy. You can also rotate a weapon and shoot it off your head, which is kind of cool. It's the only time I've ever made use of the rotate feature for a weapon. Here's 4 back-to-back monsters you can easily bait off of a cliff. Simply hold an item out and the gnomes will happily jump into the pit. Next up, we've got the baby. Kind of annoying, but it will also jump into the pit, trying to pick up an item that you're holding. Trudge will step forward slightly when he attacks. If you can bait him to an edge like that and make him attack in the right direction, he's gone. And finally, the Reaper. This has a lot of different ways you can do this, but if it's close and you jump off a cliff like that and curve, it will follow you off the cliff. Also, the new expressions are kind of difficult to use on the keys they're default bound to. I put them on these as nothing else is using these in game. So if you want to do these or something similar, it makes it a lot easier. Also, good news, in the beta, they have changed the valuable damage when you hit enemies to a slightly different system that's more of a minimum damage thing. So that helps a lot for the durability, and turns out you can stun a lot of things now. The items are just different, and there's different mass requirements based on how heavy the enemy is. It is a confusing list, thanks to Swaggies for compiling this list and posting it in the repo Discord. As you can see, it is a lot harder to remember what you stun what with. It used to be pretty simple. You know, it used to just be if they were, smallish enemies, you could stun them pretty easily with any small item. Now there are more requirements, like the ocarina, for example, can't stun anything. It's just not heavy enough. But the globe and the toy monkey can stun up screams and rugrats. So you're gonna have to get used to the list. Now for what I've seen on the beta feedback and my own personal experience from playing the beta, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some people are unhappy that they nerfed the item combat, as in the valuables. This did seem to stem from me included not understanding that it was just a big reshuffle. It just wasn't communicated very well from the devs' part, and people thought that the item combat system was like basically gutted, but it's somewhat possible. It's not as easy to remember which items are good for what. Some people think the game is harder, some people think it is easier, kind of just depends on their strategy. Some people don't like the overcharge. I think the overcharge is necessary, or something else has to be done with strength, because strength is overwhelmingly overpowered. And without overcharge, I think it is a big problem. But now we're running into other issues, because since they've fixed the health bug people were using, people are really struggling with the health economy. Like, they'll get into a death loop where a lot of people in their team will have 1 health, and then they'll just die again, and they have to be revived, and then they'll die again, which is kind of unfun, and I can see why people wouldn't want that to be the case. There is also a bit of an issue with the new economy for crystals, because those keep scaling like crazy as you go up in the quota, but now you actually are using items, and they fixed the bug that gave you some free energy. So there's no renewable energy, and it costs a ton, and they want a bunch more people using items. So something might need to be done. I suggested a bit of health regen up to like 25, kind of like Lethal Company when you go to critical health. I also wanted to talk about Zeekerss and his commentary on r.e.p.o. Zeekerss is the Lethal Company dev, in case anyone is unaware. And he left some pretty good feedback, and I think it's worth looking at here. So first off, he compared the very silent moving of a lot of the enemies in r.e.p.o., especially Headman, to a big shark just kind of flying. And I think that is a pretty good comparison. He also talks about his design philosophy for enemies that react to voice that are indoors, because this is a big difference. The dogs in Lethal Company react to sounds, but they're an outdoors enemy that you kind of don't have to deal with very often. Or, well, even if you do, it's not a big percentage of the time. And even if you do need to deal with them, you can like close the doors and talk or whatever, and you can still hear things over the radio without it interrupting you. But in r.e.p.o., a pretty frequent mechanic, especially as you get further in and more enemies spawn, is people will just have to stop talking, which is kind of a buzzkill. It's not that fun to just have to crouch around and not say anything. As he says here, this single enemy is so oppressive that he totally kills any sense of casual fun or banter. My group will completely stop talking and only crouch. I had very similar experiences, and I left almost this exact quote in the feedback section very early on. And people would just comment weird things like, oh, you can kill him by doing so and so. It's like, I know. The issue is if you don't kill him or can't kill him or see him from a distance and you're just forced to crouch around and say nothing. That's just not very fun. And I think the game would just be better overall if the whispering mechanic from a player hiding just wasn't hearable. Have the whispering serve a purpose. Isn't whispering supposed to be quiet? I think it would also be pretty funny. You know, having people that are obviously whispering tell other people to shut up and not get shot to death instantly for it, which is the current meta. He's also commented somewhat about the map design, and I think this concept right here, cap tiles, is one of the biggest differences between Lethal Company and r.e.p.o.'s map design and what has r.e.p.o.'s so far ahead. When I first loaded up this game and got in a map, I did not think that they were procedurally generated. They looked that good. Like the maps just flowed and connected so well. There weren't any weird hallways with like bricked up doors like in Lethal Company. It wasn't just a hallway connected to a hallway with two more hallways. And it looks like he has realized that and is going to make actual rooms at the end of hallways, which will be crazy. Lethal Company won't just be a hallway simulator, so we'll have to see how those maps turn out. Nice thing when game devs get inspirations from others. Seems to have motivated him somewhat to come out of his cryo sleep. And he's apparently been working on V70 for Lethal for a long time. And it apparently has a lot of massive changes. So we'll have to see how that turns out. He says there's a new monster. He's making the terminal more fun and useful, which has always been great because the terminal was a very fun mechanic that I like to do pretty often. So having that have improvements, having players actually have a compass. Wow, magnetism, advanced feature. But, you know, a compass will add a lot to directions you're able to give people. You could already give pretty good directions as long as you told them relative directions, but still, it's nice to have a compass. So this is the Imperium mod, by the way. I'll just give you a quick overview here. There's a lot of buttons, there's a lot of pages, but this is the most useful one on the right. You can see those enemies. You can hit the little check marks to activate or deactivate them. You can hit the little ZZZ thing to have them be in a state of respawning or not. You can hit F2 to open up the spawning thing and just type whatever you want. So you can spawn in an enemy that will usually be in a respawning state. So if you wanted to spawn a duck, you would hit F2 and type Apex. It'll autofill. Everything is pretty easy to use. If you want to spawn items, you can just type what they're called. You can turn on God mode in the F1 menu. You just have to look through everything. But you can very easily test fighting and using items using this mod.